Bienvenidos nuevamente, estamos dialogando con John Stowell. John, you're a jazz musician.
Sí.
That means a lot of things, not only being able to play your instrument, but also being able to improvise a lot and communicate with other musicians in ways that most people really don't know about. I would like you to tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you came to La Pampa the first time in 2008, and right away you began playing with people here. I don't keep a list, but maybe you played here with something like 20 people. 20
maybe
people.
Altogether, yeah. All thanks to you. I met them all through you.
Never mind. But how is it that happens? I mean, that you just sit and play with people you don't know?
Well, that happens many times during the year for me in many places, not only here.
And so, how is that accomplished?
Well, the first idea is to pick songs that are comfortable for the people that you're playing with. So I don't pick really hard tunes that I know, because they won't be so comfortable even for good musicians looking at them for the first time. So you start with a simple song like a standard, just to get an idea of the level of the other players. And I could tell right away when I came here that Jorge and Hernan and Mauri and Sergio all could play this music already, so I wasn't so worried about the songs. But we don't want to have very complicated arrangements. My idea was just to have good conversations and then slowly add repertoire. So now we played enough times together that we are playing songs that are not the usual standards all the time. And you develop a common language with shared songs that everybody likes, that everybody's comfortable with. So my goal when I'm playing usually on the road is not to play very complicated arrangements, but to play songs that are comfortable for the other musicians so that they feel like they can make good solos. We have a nice relaxed conversation and enjoy each other on the bandstand, and then the audience sees this and hopefully the audience enjoys it too. So creating this flow of energy between the musicians, from the musicians out to the audience, and the audience back to us. That's my goal. And I do this many, many times during the year with many musicians.
And would you amplify a little bit on how is it that the standards work, and how is it that jazz musicians learn the standards and how they improvise on it?
It's a harmonic language, and once you've learned 10 of these older songs, you begin to see common progression. So your ability to remember the chord changes and feel comfortable playing in this language gets easier with practice. So everybody here that I know through you is an experienced musician already, so they know this language. And then your goal is to have a good conversation with the other musicians, to find sort of a common way to express yourself with these familiar songs. And that just takes some practice and some time together. So I think we are more comfortable playing together now with all of us than the first time I came, although I think even the first gigs were pretty good. But now that we have some time together and some shared repertoire, it feels more comfortable. So even if I only see you once a year, we can play songs that are comfortable and familiar. Maybe we add some new ones, but we have a basic language and a basic set of songs that we know we're all comfortable playing together. So to me, one of the most interesting things about this music is learning how to play the music better with other musicians. Fine-tuning, finding some small ways to make the conversations better. More subtle in some ways, rhythmically, harmonically. And that just takes, that's what is interesting to me about playing the same songs for many years. It's still changing. I feel like my playing is still changing in small ways and getting better. I still feel this. And that's what keeps it interesting for me. The love of the instrument. You know, the love of not only playing it better, but also playing better with other musicians. That's something you can do your whole musical life.
It's funny you use the word love for the instrument, because mostly the guitar and music is the love of your life.
Yeah, this is most of my life is this. Most of my life is this.
Because with the kind of life you lead, it's kind of difficult to develop, you know, constant relationships. With
I mean, I think my life is set up, although I have many friends, including you, so I don't really feel lonely on the road, because I'm going from one friend to another friend. And if it weren't for my friends, I could not do this, you know, because I don't make very much money. And my friends are helping me with accommodations like you do here. And I have some expenses with the travel, but almost no expenses with hotel, because my friends are helping me everywhere I'm going almost. So my friends allow this to happen. And I'm very aware of this. I try to help my friends too if they are traveling for the same reason. Without the friends, it's not possible. If you're famous, it's completely different. That's a pretty small group of musicians, pretty small. But I tell every musician at a workshop or friends that I meet, if you want to travel and play, it's also possible for you if you develop a network of friends, and we help each other to find work and help each other with accommodations and contacts and so forth. It's possible. It's possible. So, but it's also a little bit of a sales job. You have to be always thinking about the work. So even when I'm traveling, I'm thinking about other trips. I have to. So I'm thinking about things for next month and next year and everything in between. Every day with the computer, looking for things. It's a little bit tricky to keep the playing and the traveling and the gigs all coming, keep it all going. It's a little tricky. I keep going though.
But there was a time in your life that you made a conscious decision, for instance, that a family life was not for you.
I didn't really think I ever wanted a family. And once I began traveling and I thought I like this, I will keep going. It's pretty difficult to be a good father and a good husband if you're not at home. You know, so I made that decision a long time ago. I didn't decide. It wasn't a matter of saying, do I want this or that? I just knew I wanted this life that I have. And so I knew that it was obvious that I could not have the other. And I have no regrets about that. So I'm happy to see other people's children grow up, and I have nieces and nephews. I'm happy to know them. And I'm around young people at workshops, so I feel like I have some contact with younger musicians and younger people, watching them grow and getting some energy and some ideas from them. So I'm happy about that. But children of my own, I don't feel like I really need or want. So not really enough time for it to be a good parent, you know, or a good husband even. So I made the choice to do this. It's working.
Obviously, there are musicians who live in the same town most of the time, and
oh yeah,
but
many musicians can have families and still be musicians. It's possible, but I think it requires a really specific focus to make sure you have enough time for your family. And most musicians with families don't want to be traveling all the time. You know, so then you have no time for you to watch your children grow up or spend time with your wife. So maybe they have a teaching job, or they play some other styles of music, commercial music, to make a good living in one place. It's possible. It's possible. Just I began to travel with David Friesen, the bass player that I met, and I think this is interesting. The things I like the variety. I like playing for different audiences. I like seeing different places. So when he and I stopped, I wasn't sure if I could keep going on my own, but I had met enough people traveling with him that I thought I will try. And so I've been doing it now on my own for about more than 30 years, 35 years on my own. And I met enough people who were willing to help me through him that I can keep going. So, but it's always changing. It's a little tricky. I hope I can keep going. It's
like your life sounds like a big adventure, doesn't it?
Kind of. It's not quite as much of an adventure as it sounds, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a little miracle that these tours, I can make any money, because it's tricky, you know, to make enough money to do this. Especially if you're traveling internationally, the plane is expensive, and buses and trains, so that's a little expensive. So if I know I'm going someplace far away, I have to work hard to get many small things to make enough money. So it's a little bit of a sales job. It's tricky, but as long as I can keep going, I will.
Did you ever think about writing about your life? I mean,
maybe I will when I'm old, if I get to be old. I'm not sure how many people would like it, because there are many good biographies of musicians. They're all a little bit the same. You know, working hard, some luck here, I go there. My story is not so different in that way. It's a little different. I have some interesting stories. So maybe I'll do it one day. Maybe a few friends would like it.
I'm the first one who want to read that.
I'll see that you get a copy. You should write one too.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about your recording career.
Sure.
You've been recording
for about
music
40 years. That started in the 1970s with a small label in New York called Inner City. Some recordings with my bassist friend David Friesen, and one solo record. And then nothing for maybe 10 or 15 years. Then I began meeting musicians and friends with small labels in the early 90s. So I began making CDs about 1991 or 2. And then about 1999 or 2000, a friend of mine in Seattle, who's a drummer that I play with, John Bishop, he and another drummer, Matt Jorgensen, began a label called Origin Records. So most of my recordings for the last almost 20 years now have been with this label, Origin, although I've done some other recordings for other labels. So with Origin, I have now maybe a dozen CDs. I have a trio with this drummer, John Bishop, and a bass player named Jeff Johnson called Scenes. We have 6. I have 2 solo recordings for Origin, 2 duo recordings with Dave Liebman, one with Don Thompson, actually. A third one is coming. One with a Swedish guitar player, Ulf Bandgren. We have another one coming. So the nice thing about the small labels with musicians who run them is that it is possible to put out CDs in a way that maybe was not possible before if you did not know the people with the company. We don't make so much money with CDs, but we can sell them at the gigs. We can get some airplay on the radio stations to help build our audiences, some exposure with reviews, and a chance to document your playing and listen to yourself to hear your progress. So for all those reasons, I tell musicians you should be recording, just like we recorded. And we're going to do some more recording, I hope. So recording is useful for all of those reasons. So I usually do 1 or 2 CDs every year. So I might be on 30 or 40 now. Some also with small labels in Europe, with some European musician friends. I've done a little recording down here in Argentina. So yeah, I have many CDs, and it does help a little bit.
So how many records have you
altogether
made?
I don't know. I think maybe I'm on maybe 40 altogether, not all as a leader. As a leader or co-leader, maybe 20, maybe a few more, más o menos. So.
Okay, let's hope you keep coming here.
Oh, gracias. Thanks to you. I hope I can too.
And this is the end of the interview, but we will ask you please to, since you have the guitar here there, which is a very strange guitar, by the way.
This is for traveling. So the tuner's on this guitar here instead of here. And this is graffito. The pickups are here. And this, my girlfriend Louise made a little cloth jacket. These are just plastic tubes for the shape of the body so that I can hold guitar in the way that I need it. And it goes in a very small case for the airplane.
Wonderful. After this shortcut, we'll ask you to play a little bit for us.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Después de este corte, John Stowell va a tocar para nosotros.